What's up, everybody? I see that you're back. You're starting to understand that you are in control of your journey. So why not control your journey to a better life? You reached the podcast, Motivations Unlocked. I am Mark Black, CEO, the one and the only. And this is the place where we break through limits, shift mindsets, and we unlock the life you were meant to live. All right, today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to talk a little bit about somebody, someone you've known your entire life, someone you carried with you through every single success that you've had, every single setback that you could think of, every dream that you dreamt, every disappointment. This particular person has been with you through every season of your life. You've never actually met them. It's the person that you could have become. And before you turn off this episode, I want you to think about what I'm saying, because we're not talking about regret. No. This isn't about beating yourself up for yesterday or the day before that or years past. No, it's making sure that you don't lose tomorrow. That's what it's about. Think about the future, and we can't have the future without thinking about our past and learning from our mistakes. You know, there is a question that most people avoid asking themselves, not because they don't know the answer, but because deep down inside, they're afraid that they do know the answer. Question is this: who would I be today if I had trusted myself just a little bit sooner? Who would I be if I stopped talking myself out of these opportunities that are going to propel my life? If I just stopped waiting for perfect timing? If I stopped letting fear disguise itself as logic? If I stopped asking for the guarantees that life was never designed to provide? Think about it. It wouldn't be the version of you sitting here right now. It wouldn't be the version that took the chance, the version that believed in themselves, that particular version that started before they felt ready, the version that walked through uncertainty instead of waiting for certainty, that version that kept moving when doubt showed up, the version that became everything they were capable of becoming. You know, here's what I learned. Most people, they're not haunted by failure. They're haunted by possibility. You know, haunted by the thought of what could have happened. They would have just trusted themselves just a little more. You know, that type of haunting. Haunted by the opportunity that they watched instead of pursued. Haunted by the conversations that they never had, but they wished they did. The risks that they never took. The dreams they kept postponing. And maybe the saddest thing in life isn't failure. Maybe the saddest thing in life is potential that never got the chance to become reality. A future that never arrived. A person that never arrived. A version of you that never existed. You have a chance to change them. I think one of our hardest truths that we really personally don't want to admit, that sometimes we don't overthink things in our head because we're confused, right? Sometimes we overthink because movement starts to make you feel vulnerable. That matters in hindsight, because we believe that vulnerability asks us something to do that we're scared to do. It asks us to risk disappointment, to be misunderstood, to risk not knowing how something will turn out, walking into that unknown. And if life has humbled you before, if trust has been broken, experienced embarrassment, loss, or moments that shook your confidence or feel like it took you for granted, your mind starts learning how to survive. It starts building a wall of protection. Protection, it sounds responsible at first, right? Think about it longer. You have to be cautious. Make sure. Don't rush. And just to be clear, there is wisdom in patience. But there is a clear difference between patience and hiding. That difference, it does matter. Because some thoughts, they just don't knock on your door inside your mind. They move quiet. Then they move in. They rearrange all of your furniture. Convince you they belong there. Fear does that to you. Self-doubt does that to you. And after a while, you stop asking whether the thought is true. You only ask whether it feels familiar. And familiar is very dangerous, because people can become comfortable carrying things that are hurting them, including thought patterns. Our thought patterns is really part of our environment and what we learn. We don't know better. But once we realize what the issue is, then we are held accountable. There's a cost to living too long inside of your head. Not because thinking is wrong. I'm not saying that. But eventually, life starts passing you by while you're still trying to decide how you're going to live it, while you're still dealing with other trauma. It steals your presence. Because how many moments have you physically been somewhere, but mentally just been somewhere else? Almost like you checked out at dinner, at work, but you're replaying a mistake in your head. In conversation, but you're rehearsing what could go wrong. You're trying to rest while your mind negotiates tomorrow. Start getting restless. That kind of mental noise is draining. And I think many people, including myself, we tend to normalize it. They call it being deep, or just being careful, or cautious, or just how they are. But sometimes what we normalize stop healing, and that concerns me. Because I've seen people delay joy waiting for certainty. They delay purpose. They delay their healing. They delay becoming, not because they lacked talent, because they have all the talent in the world, but because their thoughts became louder than their trust. And here's what hurts the most. Overthinking rarely protects people the way that they hope. It doesn't eliminate pain. It just makes them experience it earlier on than they're supposed to. You suffer before the meeting. You start to suffer before you even have the conversation. Before the opportunities starts to pop up, you self-sabotage it. Before life even gives you an answer. Now that's heavy. Carrying around emotional weight for situations that haven't even arrived yet. You do it to yourself. You do it to the people around you. And you make yourself smaller by thinking this way. In my opinion, maybe that's what makes overthinking so dangerous. Not because it hurts, because it's going to hurt, not just today, not just yesterday, but it's because of what it steals tomorrow. Eventually, all of those delayed decisions that you postponed, all of those risks that you had to stop and just say, wait a minute, let me think about it. All of those opportunities that you convinced yourself to wait on, and you talked yourself out of taking the opportunity right then and there, taking advantage. You begin creating something that you never intended to create. A distance between who you are and who you could become. There's something that has stayed with me for a long time. The older I get, the more I think about it. I don't believe people are afraid of failure. Not most people, no. I think that most people are afraid of reaching the end of their life and realize that they never met the person they were capable of becoming. I think about it heavily, and you should too. Not the version that got everything right. Not the version that never struggled. Not the version that lived a perfect life, if there is a such thing. The version that trusted themselves. What about that version that stopped asking fear for permission? The version that stopped negotiating with every single doubt that came across their path. The version that answered the call on their life instead of endlessly analyzing. The version that became. Because every day, whether we realize it or not, we're moving towards one of two futures. You can either do future number one, where it's the future that we trust ourselves enough to step forward, or you can do the second choice, the future where we continue postponing what we already know we need to do. It's right there in front of our face, and sometimes we just don't take advantage of it. And what breaks my heart the most is how many incredible people never discover who they truly are. Not because they weren't good at what they did. Not because they weren't smart enough or they lacked intelligence for some reason. It wasn't because they didn't have the ambition or they lacked purpose. But because they spent years standing at the edge of their own potential. Just waiting for confidence, waiting for some type of certainty, waiting for a sign, waiting on fear to disappear. While they waited, their future waited too. That's what hurts the most. Because some dreams, they just don't die from failure. They die from delay. They die from hesitation. They die from being postponed so many times. Eventually, they stop feeling positive. And then I wonder now how many people are listening right now have been carrying a dream that they've had for years. And they couldn't complete it. And it's not because they're not capable. It's not because they don't care about it. It's just something along the path. They started believing that thinking about the dream was the same thing as pursuing it. And those are two different things. A dream doesn't become reality because you revisit it. No. It becomes reality because you move toward it. I need you to hear this part. The version of you that never arrived doesn't have to stay that way. You're still here. That future hasn't been written yet. That story is not finished yet. You still have time. You still have breath in your lungs. You still have opportunities right there in front of your face. You still have decisions left to make. And as long as you have that, and as long as that's true, and you believe that, the person that you're capable of becoming is still waiting on you to make that decision to get here. Not behind you, in front of you. They're waiting for you to finally take that step that you've been overthinking for far too long. You can feel it in your spirit when it's telling you it's time. You have to take advantage of the opportunity that you feel in your spirit as we're speaking. You know, there's some things that I learned. You know what it is? It's that some people are not waiting on opportunity. Opportunity already knocked. They're just waiting to feel completely safe. And you know what? I understand. Because disappointments, letting people down, that changes people. Being inadequate or feeling that way, failure, it changes people. Public mistakes, public shame changes people. But you know what changes people? Healing does. It changes people too. Growth, it changes people too. Movement, it sure does. It changes people too. Strength rarely arrives before action. Movement, it comes first. You become stronger moving. You become wiser moving. You become more confident when you start to move. And then one day, you look back and then you realize the thing you spent years on worrying about was the very thing in your life that would have helped you grow. Distance between you and your future is rarely palatable. That's not it. It's not even intelligent. You know what? In hindsight, it's rarely opportunity. More often than not, it's hesitation. It's you being scary, being fearful. You don't trust something. What is it? You know, I think one of the deepest forms of healing is learning how to trust yourself. You don't have to trust yourself perfectly. You don't have to do it blindly either. just have to do it honestly. Trusting that you can make decisions and you can adapt if necessary. Now, trusting that one mistake doesn't define your future, because you're going to make mistakes. You have to trust yourself that uncertainty is not proof that you're unqualified, because life has never handed anybody complete guarantees. Not the people you admire, not the people succeeding around you, or the people that you see on social media. Nobody. They learn while building. They adjusted while growing. You know what else they did? They failed. They also recovered. Got up. They kept moving. And maybe that's the part that we forget. The people we admire, they're not fearless. They're just the people that are simply willing to continue despite uncertainty. And maybe the same strength already exists in you, buried underneath hesitation, waiting to breathe again. You have to stop this. So here's what I hope you carry with you after today. Not pressure, not guilt, but perspective. Your life deserves participation, not endless observation. And if you've been carrying your decision or an idea or a dream, conversation of some sort, I'm not asking for perfection. I'm asking for movement. Small movements in your life count. Small wins matter. Quiet courage still counts. Progress nobody claps for you for still counts. Because momentum does something beautiful. It interrupts the fear. And sometimes one step creates evidence your mind could never give itself through thinking alone. Not because fear just happened to disappear. No. But because you decided your future deserves more than hesitation. And that is a great decision to start. This message, maybe it found you at the right time. Maybe you have been carrying more mentally than what people realize. And if so, I hope this stays with you. You are not meant to spend your entire life negotiating with doubt. You were not meant to watch your own story from a distance. The version of you that never arrived is not a ghost from your past. Stop thinking that. It is a possibility that is standing right there in front of you. And what is it doing? It's just sitting there waiting. It's waiting for you and your courage. It's waiting for action. It's waiting for the day that you stop asking fear for permission to become who you were created to be. Because the life you want, the peace that you want, that you can see yourself have, the growth you want will never come from thinking about living. It comes from living. It comes from participating. It comes from trusting yourself that you are capable of facing what life places in front of you. And maybe, just maybe, today is the day that version of you finally begins to arrive. Let me be the first to say welcome to the new you. This is Motivation Unlocked. I am Mark Black, CEO, the one and the only. And if this message met you where you are, replay it over and over. Carry it with you. Share it. But most importantly, apply it. Keep growing. Because sometimes the greatest shift in life is not learning more. Finally trusting yourself enough to finally move. And when you move forward. Stand tall. Stand strong. Because the new you is not that easy to keep, but it's worth it. Be blessed.